And it's Ken Kraetzer for Sons of American Legion Radio, RallyPoint.com. We're in Fort Worth, Texas today for the Armed Forces Bowl. Have a chance to talk with two U.S. Army officers that are going to participate in a parachute jump at the game tomorrow. And we have Nate Volk, who is from Houston, Texas, and Meech Totorica, who is from Boise, Idaho. Great to see you, gentlemen. I'm just going to pass the mic. Maybe tell us a little bit about your background, your at West Point, and then also your service in the Army. Nate, would you like to start?
Absolutely. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Nate Volk. So I graduated from West Point 2016. I was a civil engineer undergraduate. I was on the parachute team while I was there. Currently, I'm a engineer platoon leader serving at Fort Bragg. I'm in a 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 307th Airborne Engineer Battalion.
And Meech?
Cool, yeah. I'm Mitxel Totorica. Graduated from West Point in 2015. I studied mechanical engineering while I was there, and I was also on the parachute team. Currently, I'm stationed at Fort Bragg. I am a Chinook helicopter pilot and platoon leader in the Combat Aviation Brigade. So it's a little bit about me.
Well, that's great. Now, your colleagues are working on preparing their chutes for the jump tomorrow. And tell us a little bit about the preparation that goes into parachute jumping. It's something, you know, you've got to go through a drill and go through a checklist, just like pilots do. What's the preparation like to do a parachute jump like you're going to do tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a good question. So a lot of it has to do with inspecting our gear. So that's usually step number one, making sure we have everything. It's pretty similar to what we do in the military, doing your pre-combat checks and pre-combat inspections. And additionally, we talk about the game plan, basically how we're going to attack the jump. And we basically go over from the beginning to the end, make sure everybody understands what's supposed to happen and then what to do if things don't go exactly according to plan.
Yeah, I'll say on top of that, we usually get some sort of rehearsal in, whether that's an actual dry run or at least going and checking out where we're going to jump. So with jumping, there's a lot of obstacles that get in the way. So you've got towers, a whole bunch of obstacles that you can't always see. So when you're coming into a stadium, you don't always think it, but when you look up, you'll see cameras that slew across the stadium. You'll see nets. You'll see all sorts of stuff that you don't really think about until you're thinking about it from the perspective of a jumper and having to land in there. So that's a lot of what we do. We share pictures, we share videos of what the stadium's going to look like, and then we basically just go over everything from the start point to the end point, and then we do it live.
Very good. Well, it's extraordinary what you do. I guess those cameras where it's out on cables is not one of your things you want to see when you're coming down, but I'm sure that they clear those things. Tell us a little bit about, I see parachute jumping, and we're talking about it as a little bit of a rite of passage for as a key skill in the development of an Army officer or a soldier, being able to do something very difficult, overcoming a fear that anyone would have. How do you see that training when you first start doing parachute jumping and you see the soldiers who do it, or you see ROTC cadets who do it, maybe in a summer training? What is it like just to go through that process of overcoming the fear of doing parachute jumping?
So absolutely, the overcoming the fear and kind of stepping out of comfort zone is a really important skill, especially in the military. And a good way to train that is through parachute jumping. It's not a very natural thing, right? Especially jumping out of an aircraft.
Yeah, I'll say from my perspective, I actually am what you would call a leg. So I have no military static line jumps. So I did all of my training up at West Point. So pretty much from day one, I've been doing self-deployed release. So I will say I have heard lots of stories about how it is in the normal Army. It's lots of preparation. That's how it has to be when you're putting through hundreds and thousands of people through all of these courses that you don't necessarily have all the one-on-one training that we had going on. So it's absolutely something that I can see carry over into other aspects of a soldier's life. So I think it's something that they train, they get over it, they face their fears, they overcome their fears, and then they continue, and that sticks with them. And that's kind of coming from the 82nd. That's something that's always kind of preached, is the paratrooper mentality. So I think it's probably real. It's my first duty station, so I guess time will tell. But I think that if you are willing to jump out of an aircraft, you're probably of a different caliber than just a normal ground soldier.
Well, we see some of the Army leaders continuing well into their careers, doing the jumps with their soldiers as show leadership. Maybe just we can wrap up with a little thought about what's been the best jump or most unusual experience that you've had doing a parachute jump. Nate?
I may need a minute to think about that. Meech, you got something on top of your head?
Yeah.
So what I'll say is they're all unique, right? So every jump's a little bit different. After we get a completed jump, we usually write down a logbook and talk about our unique experiences. So there's parts that are the same, but to make the most memorable jumps, it kind of depends. I feel like this jump is going to be pretty special for us. So we were on the West Point's parachute team. We would jump into all the Army home games, and we haven't done that since we graduated, obviously. And so this will be the first game we get to jump in where the Army team's playing again, and it's going to be pretty special. So I want to say maybe this next jump coming up.
Yeah, I'll just say that my most memorable jumps are the ones where stuff hasn't gone according to plan. But that's also the point where I like jumping the most. So we are all highly trained professionals in what we do, and when stuff doesn't go correctly and you're able to adapt off it and trust your teammates, that's probably those are the jumps that I have the most fond memories of. It's not the jumps that happen and you forget them because they're just like every other jump. It's when something else happens or something isn't quite according to plan and you have to adapt off that plan. And I think that has carryover into the Army and being deployed and doing real-world operations. It's not always cut and dry and clean how it briefed. So I think I've had a couple jumps with this team that have been truly special. I've had a couple jumps with the West Point team, the AVG, the all-veteran group. That's something that I didn't jump for about 3 years after West Point, and then I got involved with these guys, and they basically have a mission to give back. So they do stuff with the Gold Star family members. So if you've had a spouse or loved one who's died in a war, then we will take your spouse on a tandem. So they come to Rayford. It's something we do, and that's our way of giving back and trying to help get through that grieving process. So there's multiple members on our team who are Gold Star family members, and that was how they got their start. So that's something where those jumps, yes, the jumps into the stadiums are cool and they get your heart pumping and everything, but the jumps where you're jumping and you see that loved one who gets a release or some sort of relief, I guess, relief after that jump or release. It's healing, yeah. Any sort of stage of healing, those are probably the coolest jumps, and those are the ones that have the deepest impact with me. And that's something that I've just now began to experience with the all-veteran group because we didn't do too many of those jumps while we were cadets.
Very good. Maybe, Nate, is there something more you could tell us about the All Veterans Group? It's a new one for us. We've seen the Golden Knights and other military groups. Tell us a little bit more about the All Veteran Group.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Meech mentioned a little bit earlier in the interview, but this is a non-for-profit organization. There's no government funding behind it, so it's all basically run off donations and sponsorships. So we get to do a little bit different venues, a little bit more unique situation. We kind of get to do a little bit more, and we're not out there selling. We're not recruiters. That's not what the point of it. The point of it is to give back to veterans and get some visibility to veteran-related issues. Good.
And Meech, a final thought. What's the best thing about parachute jumping for you?
That's tough. I don't know. Honestly, every team, it's being part of the team. So at West Point, it was being part of a team with guys like Nate and guys I've got a bunch of other teammates that I was close with, and building that camaraderie. It's very similar to the military, and it's just building that trust and knowing that they're going to do the right thing. So I'd say that's probably the best part of it.
Well, I appreciate the chance to talk with both of you. You're extraordinary in what you do, and giving back to military families, Gold Star families is so important, and finding a way that they can participate is a great activity. And wish you both the best, and in your jumps and in your Army careers, and good to see you both.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Best wishes from everybody at the American Legion, RallyPoint.com. In Fort Worth, Texas, this is Ken Kraetzer.